evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our special series, The Town Hall. The Town Hall is a program that brings the biggest newsmakers of India face to face with a live audience, an audience that is also crucial because they make up the energy of the program and they, in a sense, put questions to the newsmakers. This program today is a very special edition of the Town Hall. We are in Bangalore or Bengaluru. We're at the Art of Living ashram on the outskirts of the city, and please put your hands together to welcome our very special guest today, Now, this is a program that is brought to you by our new company. It's called Mojo. Mojo, by the way, is a word that means magic. So we are going to, of course, see some magic in the next 60 minutes. It's in association with Indian Express and Business World. It is such a pleasure to be here. It is my first visit. And it is an honor and privilege to be here in conversation with you, Sri Sri Ravi Shankar ji. I want to ask you, I was talking to your sister, and I said, when did you know that he would be this? And she said, well, you know, he was always an unusual boy. Do you remember that moment when you knew that your life was going to perhaps take a very different turn from other children?
Yeah.
Tell us about it. Tell us a little bit about it.
You know, in schools, colleges, we have this habit of, those days, our biggest hobby was to collect stamps, to collect currency, coins. This was our hobby. So when my friends used to, anchor for stamps, or they would feel very happy getting some peso from somewhere or Italian lira, I used to tell them, hey, come on, I'm going to go around the world, I have people all over the world. What is that you want? I'll give you.
Really? And you were how old when you said this?
Maybe 7, 8, something like that.
But did you know that you would grow up to be somebody with millions of followers?
I had some visions time to time. I would see lots of people, some crowd. I would see people whom I would be meeting in the future.
You could
Sometimes
look into the future.
Sometimes it would be scary.
Really?
Yeah, sometimes. And when my friends used to come to and ask my mother, do you really have family all over the world? She would pull my ear and say, why are you lying? I was called a liar as a child and I had no answer. That's the only thing I was lying, and she knows that I would not lie for anything else, which appeared to be a lie,
But do you sometimes look back and miss what other people would call the normalcy of human existence? I don't know what normal is and I don't know how to define it, but what I mean is a more conventional life. I suppose that's the better word to use. Do you sometimes feel, if you were not Guru Sri Sri Ravi Shankar, what would you be?
Well, I could do many things. I could be a good cook, I could be a musician, I could be a talk show person.
Do you cook well?
Anything I do, I think I do it well.
Is there a loneliness in this path? Though you are surrounded by people and you give people solace and you give people a sense that they are not alone, is there a sense of loneliness in the life that you have chosen for yourself?
If that was the case, I wouldn't have chosen this. No. If you are lonely, then you will be upset, you will be sad. How can you exuberate joy? And the world is seeking happiness. And if it is not within you, you cannot express it. You cannot share it. You cannot promote it. So first you have to find happiness within yourself. Then you can, share it with everybody around you.
But you're almost like a smiling saint. Are you ever sad? I've only ever seen you smile. And I'm saying, do you have moments of vulnerability? Do you have moments of depression? I can see people looking like, kya pooch rahi hai? I mean, he can't ever be sad. But that is because people lay their expectations and, their image of you at your door. But you are also human. So I'm wondering how a saint, a leader who's followed by millions deals with his own moments.
Well, it's very, very difficult to understand the situation. When I'm with people who are suffering, who are in deep distress, I reflect them at that moment. And that's what motivates you to help them out. And this is a normal, natural tendency, I suppose. You can't say, I am an island by myself. When you are with miserable people, when you are there amidst people who have suffered, who had a great calamity of tsunami or something like that, then when you are there, their pain reflects in you. So every individual's pain reflects. Yet there is an aspect in you, there is a part in you that remains totally untouched by anything else.
Now, you have always said that reason and rationality can accompany spirituality. How do you deal with those who may come to you with blind faith? And I ask this because there is a word that is often debated in India, and it's called Godman. And some people believe in Godmen or Godwomen, and some people are very cynical. And some people say, no, how can a human have godly powers? So I'm wondering how you marry rationality and reason with spirituality.
See, there are 4 different type of people who come to spiritual path. One is those who are in deep suffering and deep distress. At that moment, they just want to get out of their distress. Nothing else matters. So this is the first type of people. The second kind of people are those who are seeking for some meaning to life. They want to know what is life. Inquisitive people who are rational, and they want to know more. That type of people. And then the third kind of people are those who are, I would say, who are seeker of a different sense. They are seeking something beyond what you see. Seeker of some spiritual height. That type of people. And the fourth are those who come on spiritual path who have found some happiness, who have found some meaning to life. They want to come together and do service. And I find people of all types. But in this country, we have always encouraged questioning.
Certain degree of healthy skepticism.
Yeah. Questioning. And skepticism is most welcome, but not cynicism. When you're
Some of us are cynics.
Cynical person is close to hearing. They're close to communication. They're not ready to receive anything. They're stuck with their own image of themselves or about the world. So spiritual path, I feel, is that which opens up the minds and hearts of people. It heals the wounds. It encourages, gives new hope to people to move on.
Now remember, all of our viewers who are watching this on Facebook Live and you are commenting even in this hall, even in this hall, do use the hashtag Townhall to talk about this conversation, which is of course in association with IndianExpress.com and Business World as well. I was telling you when I was talking to you earlier that there is only one time that I have seen you slightly, the word angry is too strong, maybe agitated. And that was...
I would say firm.
Firm, okay. Let me tell people what we're talking about. I'm sure some of them can make a guess. And I'm of course talking about the entire collision, as it were, that has taken place between the National Green Tribunal and the Art of Living Foundation over the big World Culture Festival that took place on the banks of the Yamuna. You have been fined. You once told me, I would rather go to jail than pay this fine. Do you still stand by that?
The court has again and again said it is not fine, it is a deposit for compensation.
And for restoration of...
For restoration.
Yes.
Of that. And the case is in the court, the hearing is all happening. I'm sure that they will do the justice. we'll get the justice.
You're not so angry today, I see.
No, there's nothing to be angry there because I believe the truth will always win.
But I was seeing a video that has been made by the Art of Living Foundation and its supporters, and it gives a counter narrative to the expert committee's report. And it actually says that there were never, you have challenged the expert committee on whether there were wetlands by the banks of the Yamuna. You say there were never wetlands, you point to satellite images, you show old Delhi map surveys, you've put out a lot of evidence there. So is that the position that you now take, that there were never any wetlands there, so it's don't blame us for destroying what was never there? Is that your position?
Absolutely, absolutely. Our lawyers are arguing on this. They will present those, facts and figures. So I'm sure the truth will prevail.
You're not speaking very openly on this today.
Truth will prevail, absolutely.
You said we are being punished for good deeds. You said this about this entire episode. What did you mean by that? And who is punishing you?
I won't say punished. I said some people blame one for doing good work. Of course, there are people, when you take up any work in society, there are some people who will blame you. And criticism is part of any social work. So we don't shy away from that. We welcome criticism, and if there is something, some substance in it, I would swear I'm all willing, with all humility we'll take it. But if it is done just out of some prejudice, then we will say bye to it. We'll laugh, smile at it only.
But the court could decide otherwise. So you may not be able to say bye to it if the court decides otherwise.
No, we abide by court. There are higher courts, and I'm pretty sure that court will uphold the truth.
Did you feel, after this entire controversy erupted, did you regret having gone ahead with the festival?
No.
Not even one moment?
No.
Not 1 second?
No, I don't regret at all. At all.
Because I was watching that video, and there's a very, very strong statement. I don't know how many people have seen it, but there is a counter sort of set of arguments that have been put out to the expert committee that has accused the Art of Living Foundation with having destroyed wetlands and floodplains there. Apart from saying that there were no wetlands, it also ends by saying that the expert committee has proposed a future set of a biodiversity park. And it says that the expert committee is creating jobs for itself worth 7 crores, and the video ends by saying this is corruption. So I'm asking you this because this is a very strong thing that I just saw before coming for the show. You believe that the expert committee that has in fact accused you of certain things is potentially corrupt?
Well, it is very obvious with what you see. So I would stick to my stand that we have not done any damage, we have not done any harm. We were the one who wanted to rejuvenate river Yamuna. We have been fighting for that for many years. In 2010, we removed 500 tons of garbage from Yamuna. We have 10,000 volunteers working for a whole month. We would not even think in our dreams to pollute a river or damage a river. That's what I would say, But I have total faith in our judiciary. I know truth will prevail.
Do you think any mistakes were made by you and the foundation? That you didn't have enough information maybe then, inadvertently?
Well, if they say, no, you cannot hold it here, we would have held it somewhere else. Yeah.
So just a last question on this and then we move on. You said that, you're open to criticism but not prejudice. And you've also pointed out that multiple agencies gave you those permissions, the central ministries, the Delhi Development Authority, and so on. But now as they're all facing notices before the Green Tribunal, none of them are willing to pay the fine, right? They've all washed their hands off it, and they're saying, "Hum nahi denge paisa. Humne permission de diya, hame isse zyada kuch nahi malum." Do you feel that the ministries are also now very conveniently distancing themselves?
This is sub judice now. We cannot talk anything about it right now. And let's wait and watch what the court will decide. Yeah.
Why is this fight important to you? Because you said it's not about the money. I remember you said that to me. You said it's not about the money. And as I said, you say you...
See, look, I have always been espoused people to stand up against injustice, of all type of injustice. अन्याय के विरोध खड़े हो जाओ, हम हमेशा बोलते रहे, अज्ञान के विरोध में खड़े हो जाओ, हम बोलते रहे. जब हम सबको बोले हैं, I have been exposing this to people. If I don't stand up, it's not honesty on my part.
तो आप कह रहे हैं एक्सपर्ट कमेटी करप्ट है?
नहीं, मैं तो अभी कुछ नहीं कहना चाहता हूँ उसके बारे में.
कह दिया, वो वीडियो में कह दिया, वो वीडियो में सब कुछ है.
मैंने तो कुछ नहीं कहा. तो वो जो भी फैक्ट्स है वो लोग जैसे भी उसका तय करेंगे.
पर आप मानते हैं कि अन्याय हुआ है आपके साथ?
कोर्ट तय करेगी ना. कोर्ट
आपको क्या लगता है?
हाँ, कोर्ट जरूर जस्टिस देगी.
I think your lawyers have had a conversation with you before, because otherwise you're much more forthcoming.
I know my
Any
life.
message for the Green Tribunal? Any message?
I know you can't trap me like that. I'm smart enough.
Okay, let's move on to larger issues. Yesterday, I was attending the satsang here, and I was very intrigued by a half political joke you made in the middle of it. And you were saying, "Aap aise kariye, aap waise kariye," and then you paused and you said, "Aap matlab wo wala aap nahi." That aap is in a bit of trouble. Now, of course, I laughed like everybody else, but I also remembered, and my mind went back to the time when AAP was not a political party, but it was a movement against corruption. And it was a movement that was born by your blessings in many ways. The crowds that came were seen to be, among them, a majority of them were seen to be your supporters. What happened? Why did you at that time put your blessings behind it?
Well, Barka, why you have forgotten all that?
I have
You
not.
are the one who have been.
I have not forgotten, but I want to jog our collective memories.
You are the one who were on the television
I remember.
exposing one after another,
I remember.
commenting all the
Yes.
events. So we know that, what all happened, what all transpired after that. And I have always remained apolitical. Though I support for cause, anybody takes, any political party takes up a cause, I am with that.
But you were very angry, though you are absolutely right, you're apolitical, but you were very angry with Arvind Kejriwal when he suddenly quit in Delhi. Remember when he resigned? And then you said he's left the people choiceless. I remember you said that. So, and I remember he also said, I've been very pained and, Guruji is angry with me. And then he shared the stage with you at this culture festival at the Yamuna. And yesterday you said he's in trouble again. Any words of advice to somebody whom you have given your blessings and your wisdom? And I'm not asking in a political way. I'm asking it as a way, someone you've known well and a movement you supported before it was political.
A doctor and a guru always gives advice in private. You can't pull me out of my ethics. The ethics of a guru or a leader is always that you have to advise people in privacy and keep it private.
Okay, but how would you say what happened to the Anna movement? How would you judge it today? Because you were such a big part of it. In fact, it could have been you on that stage, undergoing a fast for the anti-corruption laws to come.
There is no point in sitting and judging the events that happened in the past. All that you can do is you watch the events pass by and let it give lessons to people of the future. And what is that they can take from it, how they can mold their life, what lessons they draw from every event. Behind every event there is some knowledge, there is some wisdom. We need to collect those wisdom and make our lives rich. Because, it's not just the individual. There is a collective consciousness. There is a collective mind which impacts at several events, some places. We experience this all the time. We work in prisons. We have nearly 600,000 prisoners around the world with whom we have worked. You go and talk to them, they feel they were just victims whom we condemn as culprits. The world condemns as culprits. If you talk to them, in their heart of heart, they know they didn't do it, but it just happened. They feel they're all victims. So we need to heal the hearts and minds of people. This is what most important thing today in the world. There are many who would create divisions among people. but there are very few who can stitch, who can bridge the gap. And we have taken up that task.
And I'm going to come to that, but you said a doctor and a guru only gives advice in confidence, so confidentiality has to be maintained. But would you count Arvind Kejriwal among your disciples still then?
See, I don't have any disciple for your information.
A friend, a follower, a
Yeah,
supporter?
I would always give any advice to any friend, whoever wants to take advice from me.
Any?
See, today in the world there are too many people giving advices and there are no takers. So the advices hang like orphans in the space. I don't want to create orphans in that.
How would you describe your relationship with Mr. Kejriwal now?
No, see, my relations with anybody has not spoiled. Everybody I have a good relationship and I'll keep it that way.
There's nobody you don't get along with.
Absolutely
Not even Justice of Green Tribunal.
Not one person.
I will be hauled up for contempt, so I better be careful.
Not one person on this planet. Not one person at all. Yeah.
Now, you spoke about forgiveness and your work in prisons. One of the least reported work that you have done, it's been reported but not followed up, is actually your work in Jammu and Kashmir. And I know that, this militant Burhan Wani who was killed, his father actually came, he spent some time here at the ashram, then he went back. And you even said in an earlier interview to me, and you said he's a pious man. And I said, we live in these times where every word spoken about Kashmir, you can be judged national and anti-national. This goes on Twitter. Why did you choose to describe the father of a militant as a pious man? And how would you say your conversation with him went in terms of exploring possibilities for peace in Kashmir?
There is a saying of Kabir, Bura dekhne mein chala, bura na mile koi. You have heard that?
Yes.
So, but I don't agree with the second stanza.
Which is?
मुझसे बुरा न कोई. वो तो मैं नहीं एग्री करूँगा, मैं अपने आप को बुरा नहीं समझता हूँ, मगर मैं हर एक व्यक्ति के भीतर कुछ खूबी देखता हूँ. There is some goodness in everybody. There is not a single human being on this planet who is devoid of some goodness. And we need to encourage that goodness to come out. And this is what I keep doing all the time.
So how was your conversation with him?
Very good, very good, very good.
What did you sense from him?
Well, he's a nice man. He wants to do something for Kashmir and for the people of Kashmir. And when people are suffering, when a province is burning, any sensible human being cannot feel no apathy for that, right?
But I ask you this because even today a young lieutenant who's a Kashmiri boy himself, he's 23 years old, Umar Fayaz, he went to attend a wedding and he was unarmed, he was killed by militants. On the other hand, you've had a long period of, unrest, this, you've been following it, you've met with government, you've met with Burhan Wani's father, you've met with separatists of the Hurriyat conference. In some ways I feel that you have become our kind of informal Kashmir envoy. Because you have worked in conflict areas earlier. What would be your prescription? What would you say should happen next?
जो घाव बन चुके उसमें मरहम पट्टी लगाना पड़ेगा. The wounds need to be healed. And the mistrust that is running across in the society, that need to be attended to. And proper leadership need to come up there. There is a serious lack of leadership, progressive leadership. It is easy to create, dissatisfaction और लोगों को भड़काना आसान है. सबको भड़का दो, पत्थर मरवा दो, ये मारने के लिए तैयार हो जाओ, ये बहुत आसान है. To arouse the emotions of people and create restlessness is not a very difficult thing to do. But to make them understand and give them a progressive thinking and way forward is something that needs some time and it needs right mindset, a calm, collective, A mind which is free from prejudice alone can do that. And people who do not take sides, they can do better work there.
That's a very important point because it is such a contested set of narratives. Even grief has become contested, you know. People mourn not just for a young life but depending on which side of the ideological divide they are. What would be your advice to the government? Because I know young Kashmiri boys come here. I think we have some in the audience and we'll hear from them as well. And they come, they spend time at the ashram. What would be your advice? There are some who say the Indian state has to be tougher. There are some who say the Prime Minister should go there and stand at Lal Chowk and address the people. Which side of this debate would you choose? More tough or more empathy? Or a combination?
As far as militants are concerned, you need to really address this issue with certain sternness, little toughness. And as far as the people, general population is concerned, with sympathy, and we have to care for them, you know. So, you cannot go with one set of ideas. You should go with an open mind.
Yeah.
Then, you know, solutions emerge spontaneously on the spot.
You've been interacting with the army also. In Jammu, I remember you had a big meeting where all walks of life, all ideologies were present at the same stage. Were you able to make any kind of big breakthrough, small breakthrough?
No, see, Jammu, when we had this conference, peace conference, people from Kashmir Valley, it's mainly for Kashmir youth. Those days, there were 144 in Kashmir Valley, that's why we couldn't have it in the valley.
Yes.
But people traveled, nearly 1,200 youths traveled from interior Kashmir for 10 hours, 15 hours, traveled all the way to Jammu to be part of that. That was very moving, you know. People with all different ideologies. There were people who wanted separate, the part of the separatist group, and there were youths of all denominations, and but it was very, very moving experience. So we are doing some work, you know, small, tiny steps we are taking. Let's see.
You have great influence with the government. What would you advise them for next steps in Kashmir? Because the government listens to you.
Well, no. You cannot assume that I have great influence on the government.
This is my observation, or this is my perception.
No, I won't get involved unless I have been asked to do something which, or I have been requested to do something about it. In fact, I feel I keep doing on my own like I have been doing all the time. So
you haven't done this because the government or the intelligence agencies asked you to?
Not at all. I have no connection, nothing about it. दूर तक नहीं है ऐसा कुछ. देखिए हम अपना काम पहले से कर रहे हैं.
तो कैसे आपने सोचा कि बुरहान वानी के फादर से मैं बात करता? How did you think of that?
देखिए जब कोई क्रिएटिव आइडिया आता है वो आ जाता है. अब कैसे आया है ये कोई पूछने वाला क्वेश्चन नहीं है. तो जिसको इंट्यूशन है, जिसमें इनोवेशन है, ये दिस इज ओनली टू वंडर. आप आश्चर्यचकित हो सके कैसे हो गया ये पूछ सकते हो.
Because suddenly we saw him when he was at the ashram. Suddenly we saw you put up a photograph on Twitter and he was at the ashram.
Yeah. हम ऐसे ही करते हैं. लोग इम्पॉसिबल जिसको समझते हैं हम करते रहते हैं.
So you would be willing to go back and talk to all stakeholders if the government asked you to take on that role?
No, I don't need government to ask me to do this.
You're doing it anyway.
I'm anyway talking to people.
Of all sides, all stakeholders.
Of all sides. I met Hurriyat leaders. I met all the religious leaders there. जितने रहनुमा हैं वहाँ इमाम्स हैं उन सबसे मिले. कई इमाम वहाँ से इधर आए भी हैं. अपने यहाँ आके रहे हैं 2-3 दिन 4 दिन. बातचीत करते रहते हैं. दिस इज़ वन एस्पेक्ट. ऐसे तो हमारा दुनिया में कई जगह कार्यक्रम चल रहा है. इस सब में कॉन्फ्लिक्ट रिजोल्यूशन तो अपना एक तरह का एक साइड डिश हो गया हमारा रूटीन.
पर आप गवर्नमेंट को क्या एडवाइस देंगे कि थोड़ा टॉक्स शुरू करें कि सख्ती से पहले लॉ एंड ऑर्डर वापस लें?
गवर्नमेंट नोस दे हैव देयर ओन इंटेलिजेंस. दे नो व्हाट दे वांट टू डू. दे डू इट. माय ओनली अपील टू एवरीबody, all the stakeholders will be think on long-term strategy with a calm and collective mind. Let go of the past. हम आधे से ज़्यादा हम क्या करते हैं मीटिंग्स में? We keep on doing postmortem. We keep on digging to the past and try to explain the past. including your shows. So, हम वहाँ से आगे बढ़े. Let us think what pragmatically is possible. What is that we can do to uplift the spirit of people? I am more concerned about this. See, today happiness is a very important factor. And जब वो खुशी नहीं है लोगों के, रोटी कपड़ा मकान है मगर खुशी नहीं है, तो किस काम का है? So we have to learn from the Western countries. Now they are focusing more on happiness factor. So we also need to push forward to that and create that sense of belongingness among the communities. Now the people live in their own little isolated, compounded communities, and then there is more fear and there is anxiety, there is all these sort of negative emotions take over them.
All right, we're going to, lots already covered. Remember, please do keep tweeting. Use the hashtag Townhall. I hope you're all tweeting. This is in association with the IndianExpress.com and Business World. And please keep your tweets coming. We've covered a lot of ground. We'll be coming to the audience for some questions soon. But I want to cover one other area, and that is of reform and religion. And the reason I ask this is because you have seen the ongoing debate around triple talaq. And that matter, of course, is also in court, but there have been calls by many Muslim women themselves that this archaic custom, which has actually ended in most Muslim countries of the world, more than 20 must end. But there are Muslim groups who say that no, this is people interfering with our personal law. As a spiritual guru, how do you resolve this possible conflict between people's faith and modern notions of equality and human rights?
In the Sanatan Dharma, Hinduism, there is a perfect example for this. There were times when women were not allowed to chant mantras. Today, that has changed. In the Hindu customs also, घूंघट पहन के ही जाना पड़ता था. आज भी राजस्थान के विलेज में जाओगे तो अभी भी है. मगर not by and large in the entire country. So, a lot of reforms have taken place in many religions, including Islam. I think the reform should continue. All religious rules should come below the human rights.
No matter which religion.
No matter which religion. Human rights, equality of gender, honoring life, this should reign top. This should be the baseline. I would call them as spiritual laws. Spiritual laws are the most important laws to sustain life on the planet. Like green energy or supporting the planet Earth and supporting human dignity and equality among genders. These must be given the top priority. And below this you can have all the other identity, because in one religion there are many inter-religious rules and regulations.
Yeah.
एक धर्म के भीतर भी कई अंतर धर्म का बहुत सारी बातें होती हैं. Those things which do not interfere with the basic human rights, they can continue, there's no harm.
But then I'm hearing you say that you don't necessarily support a uniform civil code. You're saying that only when there's a clash with basic rights of equality and human rights should that be amended, and otherwise people can continue to have personal laws. You don't need one secular law.
See, as far as the societal law is concerned, that's a different thing, your personal law is very different. आप चोरी करोगे तो सबको एक तरह का सजा मिलना चाहिए. ऐसा नहीं कि तुम क्रिश्चियन हो तो अलग सजा, हिंदू हो तो अलग सजा, मुस्लिम हो तो अलग सजा, ऐसा नहीं है. कानून के दृष्टिकोण से सभी एक है. इसी को धर्मनिरपेक्षता कहते हैं हम. On the eyes of law, everybody is equal. Rich, poor, or religious or unreligious, whatever.
But would you support a uniform civil code, which is a directive principle, or would you say we are not there yet, we need more time?
No, it is for the religious leaders to sit and see what is the big serious thing that is really interfering, or where they can really, agree on this broad, outline of our constitution, and we must follow our constitution. Yeah.
But you know, there's also a question of interpretation. There's triple talaq, but you also saw that women had to go to court for the right to pray. And I'm talking not just about Haji Ali Dargah, but also the Sabrimala temple, where you know there was there's a rule that menstruating women cannot pray, and the court, you know, it was then left for the court to intervene. How do you personally, as a spiritual leader, resolve this contradiction? Would you say that women today, these are old ideas, these ideas must be, in a sense, abandoned?
No, yes, of course, I would say, see, there are temples that man has no entry also. There is a temple in Kerala where men cannot enter. Only ladies are there. So these are some rules that particular one or two temples have been following from ancient days. We need to start dialogue with those priests there. Not by force, you cannot make them change something which has been there for ages. We need to open up dialogue, like what happened in Shani Singapore. You know, we called all those people, and I was also involved in that. We talked to them. It made perfect sense to them. So, you know, instead of forcing something on anybody, convincing would be a better route. I would always prefer to take a convincing
But when
route.
you can't convince them? Women are often the receiving end of the orthodoxies of all religions.
I agree with you. Yes, women has not been in the forefront of religions.
I mean, the right to pray should be equal without taboo.
Equal. No doubt, no doubt. That I agree with you on that.
And on triple talaq, what is the route that you would propose as a leader, social leader?
I've said no, the human
Dialogue.
Dialogue. Human rights first. And equal right, gender equality must be there. Gender equality must be there.
You know,
And if any religion is not giving gender equality, they have to start reforming. Think about it, have dialogue, call all the ulemas, sit together and see, you know, many countries have done this.
what is a practice that continues that bothers you, that you would want to spend some time, more time on bringing reform? Like a statistic I saw recently was really disturbing on child marriage. And you know, how though it is outlawed, this is not a case of personal law versus the practice continues. So what is that one practice that you believe really needs religious reform that has not happened?
See, in this country there is not one religious authority.
Yes.
So religion, this country is sort of a people's movement. And I saw a few days back, there is one small village in a temple, they break coconut on the heads of people. And this is their custom tradition. I immediately said, call those priests, and I want to talk to them and make them understand, you know, this is a dangerous practice. So in this country, people who are aligned with spirituality, religion, they need to educate the masses. Nowhere in any of the scriptures or no religion says you should marry when there are children. It's not there at all. So many such practices or superstitions do exist in this country. That needs reform, and that is happening. Fortunately, now that has become almost sort of a fringe thing in this country now. A lot of reform has happened. And I really congratulate, salute many reformers in this country who are taking so much pain to educate people and to unite people. For example, caste system. The intensity of caste system, what it was there 50 years ago, is not there today. You know, 50 years back. And similarly, apartheid in US or America or anywhere, the discrimination on the basis of religion or race or gender, in civilized society it is coming down. And I see it should come down more, and there is more to be done in this. More than this, for me, what's happening is when politics interfere with the caste system, that is where, you know, it becomes very difficult for reformers to work. See, now I give you one example. A nearby village, we had one football club. People of all castes came together. They were playing together. They were all playing football. They were playing cricket. One politician comes and says, oh, you belong to this caste. I am going to give you some money. You make your separate club. Now there is a division. So this type of allurement to people on the name of caste has done so much damage to our society.
But the argument would be that with certain caste groups, you're making up for historical oppression,
Well,
like Dalits.
No, see, when everybody is together, they are all playing together, their caste thing has not come into their head. We create that not to empower them, but to get some political mileage. That is not the right thing, I would say. Then whoever is poor, economically give them all, help them.
So you don't agree with caste-based reservations?
No, caste-based reservation, when there are people who are really need economic plus caste-based.
Economics plus caste.
Yes.
But tell me, don't you think sometimes ideas and leaders like yourself have to be ahead of the law? And I pick up something that I know concerns a lot of young people, and that is the fact that our Supreme Court went and criminalized homosexuality. The High Court before that had decriminalized it. And a lot of religious bodies went to the Supreme Court and they said, no, this cannot be ever decriminalized. But the world is changing and young people are out and there are gay pride marches happening in cities of India. And maybe they come here and they look towards you and they say, Gurudev, what position do you take on our human rights? So what would you say on this?
Yes, as you said, we have to be very progressive. You see around the world when gay rights have been granted in most of the countries in the world, and it is an individual thing of an individual. You don't need to make it, criminalize it.
Yes.
And so these are the things, whether that or even capital punishment. I also stood against a capital punishment. You should give a chance for those people to reform.
Anybody. The worst crime.
Yeah.
Just like recently
Absolutely.
we saw in the Nirbhaya case.
When Angulimala was the worst criminal, if he could become a bodhisattva, and that has happened in this country, we must give an opportunity for people to, regret, repent, and move forward. I strongly believe that. You see, today all progressive countries have done away with capital punishment. They have given life imprisonment. They have watched the people. Psychologists have intervened and seen why someone committed crime, why did they do it, and what was wrong with them. They should be treated, a criminal should be treated as patients, as sick people. Instead, you condemn them, to send them to gallows. This is an old colonial practice. That's not part of this ancient country.
So you stand against capital punishment no matter how heinous the crime, and you do stand for the decriminalization of the gay community and homosexuality. Yeah. Yes.
Barka, these are very obvious. You don't have to.
I would think they're obvious, but we have the highest court of this land that criminalized it. So we need voices like yours to actually give, your weight to some of these movements. Now, I am going to start taking questions. Here, let's come here. Please stand up.
Yeah, my name is Prabhakar Rao. I am an environmentalist as well as a landscape architect. I do planning. My question, Sri Sri, is this, that a lot of us who are in the field of ecology and environment and who are not supposedly we don't act as pseudo-intellectuals. We really see what is happening. There is a lot of pain in the community, in the scientific community. I'm not talking about the general public. I'm talking about scientific community. That what is so obvious for people to see, what has happened in the Yamuna and what you are being accused of doing to the Yamuna, the same expert committee in its 2012 report categorically said the Yamuna was dead. They said that there's no BOD in that. And they are accusing you today of destroying and polluting that river. There is a lot of anger in this community. What advice do you have for people like us?
See, anger does not lead you anywhere. You have to have the faith, truth will prevail. And some people will say, Purnima ko Amavasya kehte rahenge, unke कहने से तो नहीं हो जाता. So, the cloudy days will pass and truth will prevail.
We'll wait for that, Gurudev.
Yeah, we should have that.
Okay, question here, lady here in the front row.
Yes. My name is Rukmini Prabhakar. I work for Gurudev and I work in the field of development. Gurudev, a lot of people ask me, does Gurudev have a different set of values for people in the organization and a different set of values for people outside the organization like the NGT? If an NGT situation had happened within the organization, how would you have addressed it?
That's a very interesting question.
Well, there are no two laws. There is only one. I don't consider my organization as something, a sort of fort or only belonging to me. Every other organization, I feel I am part of it and it belongs to me as well. That's why whenever we have, now with the river rejuvenation program we had taken, 27 river rejuvenation has happened in short period of time, and hundreds of other NGOs have collaborated with us. We have been working around the world with so many people, you know. Even here it's not one organization, we have 12 different organizations, you all know. So, you know, people are people everywhere, but people when they meditate, their perception is better, their expression is better, their endurance is better, their energy level is better, their enthusiasm is better, and their sustained zeal for working is much more. And I attribute this for meditation. In this sense, I would say everyone should meditate.
You made a statement that again attracted the headlines because you said everyone should meditate, that poverty is not the only reason that farmers commit suicide. This also became a very controversial statement. Your critics said you're undermining poverty. What other reason could there be? You actually suggested spirituality as an antidote to poor farmers being driven to suicide.
Correct.
What did you mean by that?
You know, I exactly meant what I said, that it is the inner strength that helps people to endure tough times. It's not that only poor people commit suicide. 25% of youth in Japan today have suicidal tendencies. They are committing suicide. I just has been around the world in all these countries where youths are committing suicide. You know, we have gone through much tougher times in this country. There were plague before independence or after independence, and people never went and committed suicide.
So you actually think poverty is not the only reason?
No, poverty is not the only reason. It's lack of faith, lack of the trust that there is goodness in the society.
But what do they believe in? There's no one there to buy their crops. They're living in abject poverty. How would they keep their faith when they don't have food on their plate?
No, listen, see, there is goodness in people. Society has still a lot of good people. If someone says, yes, I have debt and I am suffering, no, the neighbors won't let you go hungry. You know, we forget that there is goodness in the society, in the community. When someone commits suicide, the entire village comes and takes care of the family of the people, family of the person who committed suicide. You think they won't help them if they ask them even before? They do. You know, that is where I said we must believe in the goodness in the society, in the people. You know, second, you know, these tough times we have passed, we have experienced in the past, it will go, it will pass. So
you had an agricultural conference here.
Yeah, we had agriculture conference.
On natural farming.
We are educated, you know, we are working with farmers. People are simply criticizing, they are simply sitting in their rooms and doing it. Because we have experienced this on the ground.
But I
see, a weak mind cannot carry on a strong body. But a strong mind can carry along a weak body also. So this is where we need to bring self-confidence in people. Someone is committing suicide because he has lost all self-confidence. He thinks he cannot carry on his, with his family and responsibilities. So you have to pump him with that self-confidence. That is what I would call a spirituality. Spirituality is not just sitting and singing in the mandir. Spirituality is that which brings you self-confidence, which pumps you with enthusiasm, energy in tough times, helps you to move through tough times.
I saw Vandana Shiva speaking at the conference here on natural farming. she's a very big critic of GM crops, of genetically modified crops. It's a very big debate in the country right now. Some people think the opposition to this is outdated, that science says we should welcome GM crops. What is your own opinion, since you've just had this big conference here?
I totally agree with her.
You are opposed to GM crops?
Yes.
You don't believe that there's enough scientific reason that
There
they're
is
not
not
harmful?
enough scientific evidence about that, and we should. I'm not against experimentation, but we can't open the entire country for experimentation and then regret.
Okay, we have time, I think, for just 2 more questions. Lady here, I think she has a mic. Yes, yes.
Gurudev, you spoke about the emphasis of healing the hearts and the minds of people and relating to them when they are in trauma. So, how do we heal? How do we heal people? How do you heal people?
Well, when there is positive energy, healing happens spontaneously, and we create positive energy. Yes, that boy there.
Jai Gurudev Guruji, my question is, in today's world, youth are facing a lot of changes in challenges in their personal, professional and work life and all. So how does spirituality, meditation and yoga help them to tackle all these challenges and to grow in their life?
If you are on treadmill, the best way to do treadmill is to rise the speed up and then bring it down a little bit. Okay, you have to rise up and down, correct? So sometimes you need to slow down, and yoga, meditation all will help you slow down and then go with dynamism. Yeah.
We've been talking about Kashmir. आप शायद कश्मीर से हैं? कहाँ से हैं?
मैं कश्मीर से डिस्ट्रिक्ट बड़गाम से, मेरा नाम सोहेल मोहम्मद है। गुरुजी, मेरा सवाल आपसे है कि जब यहाँ मुजफ्फर वानी आए थे तो
बुरहान वानी के
पिताजी।
हाँ, उसका पिताजी आए तो उन्होंने यहाँ से कुछ आपसे हासिल करके वहाँ गया, तो वहाँ फिर भी ऐसा क्या हो रहा है कि मतलब हमें बाहर घरों से निकलना नहीं होता है, मतलब जब जाते हैं घर से तो ऐसा नहीं लग रहा है वापस आएगा कि नहीं आएगा। बहुत सी वहाँ पे मुश्किलें आज बहुत चल रही हैं। हम यहाँ आए, मुझे भी उस टाइम लग रहा था कि मैं भी कुछ गलत सोच रहा हूँ। यहाँ आके मुझे अच्छा लगा, क्यों ना आप वहाँ जाके लोगों को समझा सकते हो, इसीलिए मतलब वहाँ की गवर्नमेंट को, पहले हम गवर्नमेंट की बात करते हैं। वहाँ पे गवर्नमेंट ही मुझे लग रहा है पॉलिटिशियन वहाँ बहुत बुरी चल रही है अभी इस वक्त।
अच्छा, आप एक प्रश्न नहीं, आप सुझाव दे रहे हैं ना। मैं बहुत कुछ करना चाहता हूँ कश्मीर के लिए, देखता हूँ कैसे करेंगे। पर देखिए, मैं जो करता हूँ कर रहा हूँ, आप लोगों को भी करना चाहिए।
इसीलिए तो यहाँ आए हम, वहाँ जाके कुछ अच्छा करें। पर वहाँ पे ना जो गवर्नमेंट है वहाँ उन्हीं की वजह से जो माहौल जो होता है वही खराब।
देखिए, जो भी गवर्नमेंट है, कुछ भी है, आप अपना काम कर सकते हैं। जब हम काम करने के लिए कुछ कदम उठाते हैं ना, प्रकृति हमें सहयोग देती है ना।
I want to ask you in the end about you said, conflict resolution has become like a side dish. But we are seeing in the times we live in small localized conflicts. There are big conflicts. Colombia, where you worked, Kashmir, where you've done back channel dialogues, Ukraine, where I now saw a parliamentary delegation here. But there are localized clashes between communities, and tragically they are happening in the name of the holy cow. And I'm talking about groups that call themselves Gaurakshaks but are actually killing innocent Muslims simply for carrying cattle, not slaughtering cows, not carrying meat, simply for doing their job of being cattle traders. How will you intervene in this?
But this is so obvious. Any crime against humanity is to be condemned with no other, no second thought about it. We must, whoever it is, anyone who creates any sort of crime, it's a law and order issue. It's not protection of cow or anything like that. In the name of protecting cow, some people are maybe doing such things, that should be handled by law.
But are you disturbed by what's happening in these self-appointed cow protectors? Taking the law into their hands and actually violating the law because they're killing people, they're doing arson, they're doing looting. How would you as a spiritual leader...
No, see, criminal actions should not be even justifiable. They cannot be justified at any cost. No one should justify that. Once you say it's a crime, law should take over that.
In the past, you have taken this up with the Prime Minister also. This misuse of this you know, the cause is the cow, but there is a misuse.
See,
of-
there are many such misuse is happening in the country, but with a strong leadership at the helm, I'm very hopeful the country will move on to a very progressive path.
It doesn't disturb you when you read these headlines?
You know, if I get disturbed, how will I act? I recognize it. It pains me. Whenever there is a crime, it does pain me. But that doesn't throw me off my balance. And I think about it and see how we can educate people. And we are creating more and more teachers, volunteers who are working for a better India.
Well, that is good to hear. And today we learned that if Sri Sri Ravi Shankar had not been a spiritual guru, he would have been a great cook. But more than that, he would have taken some of our jobs away by being a talk show host. But he has been a fantastic guest to interview on the Town Hall today in association with the Indian Express and Business World. Please let's have a round of applause for our news.